was asked to speak to you on building a godly family. Building a godly family is a journey. It's not a destination. It requires practice, perseverance, and God's grace. We put him at the center of our lives, and our family become a reflection of your love and light and truth. A godly family isn't built by chance. It's crafted with love, intentions, and faith at its core. At the foundation lies a community to honoring God in every aspect of the family's life. I'm going to give you 7 keys and principles to continue and teach you how to live in his light. Number 1 is faith as the foundation. Make God the cornerstone of your home. Must pray together as a family. Study his word and attend worship regularly. A family that seeks God together, they grows together in unity and love. Number 2, he wants us to lead with love. Love should be a language of your home. And unconditional, Christ-like conditions. Love that forgives and it nurtures and uplifts. Let your home be a place where each member feels valued and cared for. Or whether he or she does not feel love and unwanted, it's a very painful and a depression situation. Strive and to serve each other. Just as Jesus came to serve, we should serve one another. And a godly family thrives when every member practices humility and selflessness, putting the needs of others before their own. Number 4, we should model a Christ-like behavior in our homes and everywhere. Action speaks louder than words. Parents, be the role model for your children. Show integrity, kindness, and faith in your daily life. Children, honor your parents as God commanded you. In Exodus 20:12, honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long upon the land which the Lord your God has given you. Number 5, teach and pass on values. Teach biblical principles to your children, guiding them in God's way. And Deuteronomy 6:7 reminds us to teach his commandments diligently, whether sitting at home or walking along his way. Cultivate and gratitude and praises. Fill your home with thanksgiving and joy. A grateful heart pleases God, and celebrating his blessings reminds us of God's goodness. Number 7, we should create an atmosphere of peace. Strive to make your home a sanctuary, safe and peaceful place. Be quick to resolve conflicts and slow to anger. Always remembering in Proverbs 15:1, a gentle answer turns away wrath. A truly good Christian, godly wife and mother is the most precious treasure that a man can have. She sees that her husband is clean, well known, and respected in the city. Her words are sensible, and her advice is thoughtful. Her children praises her. Her husband says, there are many good women, but you are the best. Charm can be deceiving, and beauty fades away. But a good woman who honors the Lord deserves to be praised. A man's greatest treasure is his wife. Studying God's word and worshiping the Lord. They need to see us as we respect our elders and to value all people created in God's image. There has always been a road out there. Long before you and I was born, there is a light side and a dark side. All kinds of obstacles are on the road out there in life that we live in today. On the light side and the bright side of the road, you will find God's grace, his mercy, his love, his wisdom, and protection, kindness, forgiveness, and healing. Godly men and women are walking along that light side of the road. On the dark side of the road, there's death, there's evil, drugs, drug dealers, hate, murdering, bullying, prostitution, and the list goes on. The wicked will not rest. They set traps for us along the path. Don't do as the wicked do. Avoid their hunts and turn away from them. You go someplace else. For evil men don't stop sleep, and they don't stop until they have done their evil deeds. For the day, they can't rest unless they cause someone to stumble and fall. In Proverbs 4, verses 14 through 16, parents, if you are parents, you must have proper goals set for your children. You must work with them diligently towards those goals, whether you like it or not. If you have children, you must recognize that you are responsible for your children. Too many parents simply don't want to accept the responsibilities of their parents, of their children. They expect other people to raise their children. The schools, churches, babysitters, daycare centers, grandparents, family, or other people. The world system is experiencing a series of chaos and confusion now. There was over 6,000 teens suicide cases reported last year in the United States. As many as 2 million people between the ages of 13 and 19 will attempt suicide this year. 65% of our young people say that the devil is not a living being, but just a symbol of evil. The number of people in America that do not attend church has doubled in the past 15 years. Children, never hesitate to copy adults. Make sure that you are a good example for them. Practice the safe methods before your children, for them to learn and grow. By setting a good example and ensuring your child safety outside the school, transportation area, and whatever circle he's in. Our children will not always have us around to guide and make decisions for them. We must instill in them the understanding and habits of doing right so they will serve God and they will be able to make their own decisions. Our children are not given to us to do with as we please. They are not our property. They are God's children, given to us in our care, so we can raise them to be what He wants them to be. In today's culture, it is especially essential that we teach our children to respect authorities. Teaching a child about God often results in a lifelong bond with God. Train a child in the way he should go. And when he's old, he will not turn from it. In Proverbs 22:6, children need to see that their parents and their church leaders sincerely love God and his word. They need to see us place a high priority upon our families. God promises he will not leave us in constant fear that our children will come into some harm. God is able to be with the parents where the parents cannot be. He shields and protects children from hurt and harm and danger. God doesn't want us to live in fear, but to be faithful, trust him to protect our children and family. As Christian parents, we should take the time to read good books to our children and teach them how to pray at night before they go to bed. Teach them to wash their hands and say grace before they eat. Teach them good table manners. Parents, don't fail to correct your children. You won't kill them by being firm, and it may even save their lives. When you commit your family to the Lord and seek him with all your heart, expect to see his power at work. Your Heavenly Father specializes in healing what's broken and giving new life to all who trust him. Matthew 18:6. But whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him if he had a millstone tied around his neck and he was drowned in the depth of the sea. Children need to be raised in an atmosphere of love and goodwill. Fussing and fighting between parents lead to insecurity and fear for the child. Parents, encourage your children whenever possible. Avoid belittling children when they make childish mistakes. Children need to feel secure in their homes. Children have an innocence that is so special to God. The scripture says God has used children in powerful ways. God chose Samuel to be his prophet when he was still a young child. And the Lord blessed David to tend to his father's sheep as a little boy. He chose Josiah to become a king at the age of 8. And Josiah reigned for 31 years. Parent, there was a time when children could grow up carefree. Now they must be informed at an early age about predators. I pray that God will give parents great discernment about the people who are around their children, and they will take action when something needs to be addressed. If you think you cannot raise godly children, you are defeated before you even start. The Bible is God's guide for raising godly children. Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. We do not need to be confused about how to raise children. We can have the strength and the guidance we need, but not through human wisdom. We must turn to Jesus. Observe and learn from winning parents. Fathers and mothers should discuss their plans and agree. Both the father and the mother must be involved in raising children. Children should be obedient to both parents. Mothers have authority over the children because she is with them most of the time. The plan must be accompanied by prayer. We need to pray for wisdom. This wisdom will come as we study God's word. But we must pray that we will be able to apply his wisdom and his words properly for God and his children. David prayed for God to give his son Solomon a loyal heart to keep God's commandments. We should imitate the practice. Pray for each one of your children every day. Call them by name and ask God to strengthen them. Because prayer can go where we cannot go. We cannot be with the children all the time. There was once a young man went to prison and he got in some serious trouble. And he was asked about his upbringing. And one thing that he said, I can't remember hearing my parents ever pray for me. And thank you.
So the first question, Mother, is for married couples. How do we keep God at the center of our marriage daily during conflict?
Well, the first thing, when you a young man or young lady start dating, I think they should discuss things that they would like to have in their life, things that they dislike. And if you meet someone whose personalities and their upbringing was a little bit different from you, maybe you was raised in the church and he never did go to church, and his parents didn't teach him or they didn't go, and he wasn't around Christian people, or it could be vice versa. It could be the young lady could have been raised up that way. But when you get together and you talk about things that you like, things you like to do, places that you like to go, and people that you like to be around, and if his answers or her answers are different from what you were taught and what you would like to have, then um, I think, you should kind of end it kind of quick, because you don't want anybody in your life who's going to bring you down and change your upbringing. If you would, he or she, whatever, and you should let him go back on his road and you stay on yours. And if you pray and ask God to send somebody your way that he directs or put in your path, I think that the relationship will be better, because I think you should talk about what type of community you would like. Find out if he has a job, if she has a job. But in today's world, it takes two people now. Mhm. Takes two people. And try to plan. I know sometime when you get married, um, you may need to stay with your parents or his parents for a while. But I think that you should meet his parents, if they're living, and her parents, and get to know them and talk with them, and let them talk with you. Because most men, their daughters, they gonna let that young man know how they feel if he's a good father and he respected his wife. You see what I'm saying? And his mother. But first, a man has to love and respect God first, his mother and his family, and then he will go out and know how to treat another lady, and vice versa. The lady has to be appreciative, and she has to know God came from, a right way of living. All of us have sinned, and all of us have made mistakes. But if you was taught at home, it's something's gonna come back to you. It's gonna visit you and let you know, a little bell's gonna go off. It's not what I want. She's not what I want. So then, it can be over that way. And I think you should meet the parents and talk with both sides if they're living. In my case, when I got married, both of his parents was dead, but both of my parents was living. And so they was working out of town at that time. And so I gave him their names, their phone numbers, let you talk to them. I told him you would be receiving a call. In fact, he wrote my daddy a letter. And my mother did get to come home. She knew him, because she, was in and out of her job, and she'd go back. But he worked and he came in, but he never got a chance to meet him before we got married. But he talked to him on the phone, and he wrote my dad a letter. My daddy wrote him one back. Now, what was on the letters, I can't tell you. I can't tell you, but I do know. Because my daddy said, I received a letter. And he told me he wrote my dad a letter, so. And I said, well, then everything was all right.
So, Mother, how in our time, because we're looking at you with 4 decades or 8 decades, right? 8 decades of living. And so we hear what you're saying. We hear what you present to us this morning, biblical. How do you speak to us that think my parents don't have to meet my fiance or my friend, what they call it nowadays, my friend, and whether my parents like him or her, I'm still gonna marry them because God said that's my wife or that's my husband? How do you tell us, what would you tell us when we have that attitude or that frame of mind set?
Well, I would say this. You better make sure, man or woman, that you pray and ask God to lead you to the right person. And I think you should meet his parents or her parents. You don't know if you're going into a family that fusses and fight and alcoholic. And you need to know if you're going into a Christian family, people that go to church, believe in God, and try to do the right thing. And if you want to keep your marriage a secret from either side, I think that's dangerous. And he doesn't want to meet your people, and you don't want to meet his people. You better let your family, if they're on the right side of the road, talk to him or her. And if his family living, let them talk. And they can tell you where that person is coming from, and if that person is right for you. Now, but if you think you're so much in love and you don't want to listen, but first of all, you better pray. Because I know when I was asked to marry, I said, get married. I said, Lord, marriage right now not on my mind, because I'm thinking about something else that I was trying to do for my family, my mama. Because we always rented, And my grandmama had a big house. My daddy bought a lot. But during World War II, they separated the families. And the men that didn't have to go in the army, now if you had 4 or 5 children, a black man, you had too many dependents. But they put you in B class, and you had to go work at this steel plant to help build ships and stuff for the soldiers that's going overseas. So that was a separation between our family, because they was very young, And I can remember my daddy was getting ready. He bought a lot, getting ready to build a house. And one man that had 5 children, he moved his family to, it was Delaware and Chester, Pennsylvania, where they had these steel plants where the men, and I understand that they remodeled an old hotel, and they, for the families. And one of the families moved up that had 5 children, just like my parents did. Child was in the hallway, knocked on the wrong door playing. Some lady, evidently she worked at night, walked out and poured a pot of hot water on a little baby. So then her parents had to go up to her mother, get her and bring her back home. And my grandmom and daddy said, no, 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 you gonna stay here. Let him stay up there and work, come home when he get his vacation, and call, right, and everything like that, support your family. But, if those families, if they're living, and if you're in the same country or different states, I think in some way you should try to get them together and let them kind of, you know. But then if you don't listen, what else can your parents do?
That's good, Mother. That is really good. That is really good. So another question was sent to me. What role does prayer and spiritual alignment play in our communication and decision? Do we pray for everything in our decision making? And then a note was sent. My husband says whatever I say must go. That's the final decision.
Well, getting to your first question, should you pray about every decision or everything you do? Yes. When as going into a young adult, now children, they aren't, 15 or 16 years old. They looking for mom and daddy to take care of everything. But once I feel like even before you graduate from high school, you should have something in mind of what you want to do or where you want to go in life. College not made for everybody. You have trade schools. And God gave each one of us a gift. So you have to look deep down in yourself and find out what is. Maybe you're a good seamstress. In high school, you probably took a sewing course. If you want to work for yourself, open up one at home, or if you worked like department stores, people always need something alterated, or the dry cleaners, you can have a big prosperous business that way. You know what I mean?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And there's different things that you can do that won't cost you a whole lot of money. And I really think, now I prayed about everything. If I bought a refrigerator, I said, Lord, help me to pay for this refrigerator. If I bought a stove, this before I got married, I said, Lord, help me to pay for this thing. And I still do that. And I tell you, I didn't buy a car for a long time. I felt like I couldn't handle that. But I tell you what I did want was a home. And when I was 20 years old, and after I got out of nursing school, because I graduated high school at 17, I went to work, and I was working 2 8-hour jobs a day. I'd go to work at 7 in the morning, work at 3. If they didn't have an evening nurse on another shift, I'd go over there and work till 11 o'clock at night. And we had this man that lives in our community. He was like, I won't say a taxi, but he was taking his wife and different people to work. And we paid him just like a taxi every 2 weeks. Walk back home. And when I first started working, my first 2 months, I was asked to go to the operating room. And I had to take call, and I needed a car. So the hospital agreed, you get a taxi, keep up with it, we pay for your transportation. So I didn't have to buy a car. And when I got ready to go back home, I like to call a taxi. Same one, I used the same one. And I did that. But my intentions was to buy some land and build a house. And at the end, I think it was about 2 years I was working, went to file my income tax. And while I was there, the lawyer office was there, but this income tax man had a front office, and there was a waiting room, so I went in, and he was filling out my taxes. He said, "You're not married?" I said, "No." He said, "You in your 20s and working 2 jobs?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, what you doing with your money?" I said, "Saving it." He said, "What you saving it for?" "To buy some land." And the lawyer was in the back, and he came up to see who I was, because I guess he knew it was a black voice. And he said, "You want to buy some land?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I got some property across town." I was living on this side of town. And he said, "I'll take you out there to see it." I said, "Okay." So I finished my tax, and he took me out there to see it. And he sold it to me, say, for a good price. He said, "You working, you going?" And he gave me a good price. And that was my first lot. And I was on the other side of town. But on the other side of town where I lived on the west side, but this was on the east side. And the man that I was traveling, taking his wife and a group of us to work every morning, and he told me, he said, "I heard that you want to build a house." I said, "Yes." He said there was a lot right next to my grandmother, because she had a big house on the corner, and it was a road this way and one this way, and said the man that owned that lot got killed, and his family want to get rid of everything that he had. And he said, "That would be good for you." I said, "Okay." And the man that bought it had bought the lot, but he didn't have quite enough to build a house, and this man was a contractor, and he found another house that was already built, had to be remodeled, but he had to sell the lot in order to make the down payment on the house and to get some work done. And I bought the lot from him. And so I said, "Well, does he have a lawyer?" He said, "Yes." So he went to his lawyer, because he had already bought the lot before. And I said, "Well, I'm not off till Wednesday." He said, "Well, I can meet you at the lawyer's office at 12 o'clock, my lunch break." I said, "I'll be there." So when I walked in the lawyer's office, and the man was there that was selling the lot, he had all the papers. He said, "Do you have your deeds and title?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Do you actually know it's clear title? Here it is." And he said, "And you want to buy this?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Do you want to make arrangement payments?" No. I said, "No," because the man told me how much he wanted for the lot. I'd gone to the bank. I took my little money out, because I didn't buy nothing. And they put the $100 bills and a thousand, 1,000 together. I done went there and said nothing. So he said, "Well, my fee is so much. How you gonna do a payment?" I said, "No, I'll pay you. Tell me what your fee." And he looked at me, and I paid the man off for the lot. We signed the deeds and everything. And I walked back and forth from work, then past the real estate office. And he was building houses all in the neighborhood. So I done stopped in there and find out what he would charge to build a house. Being nosy. But I tell nobody. I didn't tell my mama. I didn't tell my brother. I didn't tell nobody, sister, nobody. I went on in there, and he said, "Yes," I said, "I can build your house if you have a lot. It's paid." I said, "Yeah, it is." And he told me how much down payment he would need. And I said, "Well, if I double that, tell me what the monthly payments would be." He said, "Okay." And he did. I said, "I can take care of that." And usually they want to give you 15 years. I said, "Okay, but I think can do a little bit better." Man, I work hard, hard, hard. I even got a job at the nursing home that needed somebody to work at night. It wasn't nobody but me. Boy, I get a few hours of sleep, and I was back on the road, because I told the Lord, I prayed and asked him this. I wanted to build my mama a house. so, and everybody looked at me like I was strange. There I was 20-some years old, and so, I went on in there, paid him his down payment. I gave him the deeds, let him check it out with everything. He said, okay, I can start. And I said, okay, so my mom always come home for Christmas and 4th of July. I said, well, I wanted to surprise him. And, you know, when she came home, and so my husband called me saying, I said, well, I got some things I got to do. I got to wait a year. So he said, well, I can wait. That was good for me. I guess I'm taking up too much of y'all time.
No, mother, this good. This good. This good. This
And
good.
so, man, I wasn't interested in nothing but what I asked the Lord to help me do. So I got a 3-bedroom house, bath, living room, dining room, kitchen, side screen porch. And everybody was saying, the word got out, you know, somebody gonna be nosing. And we had a little policeman all in the neighborhood finding our stuff. And he went to this man's wife. She told him, say, you know what? That girl Bob, she could get married. That man talking about he gonna marry her. She ain't gonna marry her. And then everybody said, nobody gonna marry no woman a whole lot of debt. I didn't ask him. And so when my mama came for Christmas, I gave her a big Christmas card. And I had the deeds and tile in it, her name. And I moved her in, and the furniture we had, you know, I put it in there. And everybody's, nobody don't want her. That was good. The Lord did.
That's it. That's it.
That was my lover, because he was answering every prayer.
That's it. That's it.
And
That's
so
it.
the rest I said, Lord, you've been so good. And how I came to own property, I never went out and asked or looked for anything. The Lord always opened doors for me. I don't brag about it. It's his goodness. It's not mine.
Right.
It's my obedience.
That's it, mother. That's
It's
it.
just my obedience.
Yes. Oh my God. So you're telling us, man and woman, you need to have the wisdom of God.
And you need a lady especially has something in your pocket. And you put it away. You don't tell nobody about it. Him, that's yours. And then y'all get together, you can work and
Yes.
work together.
Yes. That's good, mother. How many of you enjoying this? You enjoying that's
So nobody gave me anything.
yes.
Mother, nowadays, we're in this generation, we tend to want to go for stuff
Yeah.
and not really realizing the most important things is to build wealth. And that's what you were doing. You just gave me that you were building wealth through real estate. You see what I'm saying? And we have these young people now, they want gadgets and they want the fancy, all those type of things, and not realizing that you got to think about the wealth to build first, then you can work or later. Don't matter if somebody see you driving on the bus, walking in the street, or even riding a bicycle, So I really gained that knowledge and understanding now to the depth that what we need to do. So we now have to take this and implement it in these young people that are coming behind us. So thank you, Mother, for that.
That is so important that you share, bring us closer into your world, how you started with what you have. You made sacrifice. You sacrificed because you had a goal.
And I paid my tithe.
Yes.
And I had to work every other weekend.
Yes.
But if I wasn't there, it was there.
Yes. That is good. And so this is a question. You talked about it in your deliberation this morning. Someone asked, how can we maintain authority while still being approachable and loving?
The thing
How
is,
can we maintain, this is parents raising children and teenagers. how can we maintain authority while still being approachable and loving? I guess they saying, how can I keep my authority with my children and still being approachable and loving?
Well, after I got married and we started having children, God first and your family, I had to cut back some. And I made sure that I got up every morning, 4:30, 5 o'clock, I cooked breakfast. And then we didn't have a kindergarten or nursery like they do now. When they came on, either your grandparents or somebody would keep your children. But my grandmother was sick and my mother was at work. So I had to hire somebody to come in and take care of our children. We had to hire somebody. And that worked fine. But still, you spend time with them at the dinner table. Did you get up early? A supper table, whatever you have. You make sure you pray in front of them. Now, my husband was a praying man, and we all, especially on Sundays, when everybody was home and time was a little bit slow after church, and he would always pray. And he'd get down on his knees at the table, and Ernest, our oldest son, said, "Daddy, let me pray today." And he mocked his daddy. He said, "Lord, here we come again." And I was so tickled I couldn't laugh. He said, "I'm asking you for the same thing my daddy asked you for." And take care of the family, Lord. And he prayed like his daddy. He was about 3 years old. So they have to see you do things.
That is good. This is good, Mother. And what then, someone sent a question in, what are some practical ways to build trust with my teenagers?
Well, some practical ways are to make sure who their friends are. And let your children bring their friends to your house. And you let them play around in there on the porch. But you keep a door open and an air and see what's going on. You have to listen because you don't know. And that's the only way you're going to be nosy as parents. And that one just called me Tippy Toes. Here she come, Tippy. Tippy Toes. If I was tipping, he figured I was trying to listen and see what's going on. Here come Tippy Toes. You remember that?
That is too cute. That is too cute. So Mother, what do you tell the parents? Because around that 12, 13, hormones are changing, different things are going on with your young teenagers. What would you tell parents how to manage their emotions when the change start in effect? Because I've seen where this start to happen and parents start yelling and screaming at the children or the child and say, "I'm the mama, I'm the daddy, you gon'," and the child don't even know what is going on in the body. How will you tell the parents how to handle the changes that is taking place with the child, even with mothers when the boy voice start getting deep? Because I remember when I was in the kitchen or something and Alan, his voice, it was like it was overnight that he got that bass. And my husband ran in the kitchen and he said, "Who you talking to?" And it shocked him because I guess he didn't even realize
what
his
was
voice. So how would you tell parents that they don't stunt the child growth and the changes that is taking place. How, as parents, that you adapt in training the child as well as yourself with their changing, with their independency. You know, that they walk, they getting in that place where they not asking you to tie the shoe or what you think so much about. They making some choices and they not bad choices
Yeah.
on their own, but the parent can't accept it because they have been making the choices for them.
Well, I think you as parents, we can lay down some rules, say this is what I approve of coming in the house and this is what I don't approve of. But still, you have to let them, you don't know what they're thinking. You don't know what they heard during the day. But let them feel free enough to come to you and said, so-and-so said this, or his mama did this, or his sister, or somebody told me this. You don't know what that child heard during the day. And we shouldn't be so, let them express it when they get through. We should try to stay calm and listen and talk to them about it. And then another thing, I didn't have any girls, we just had 2 boys. And buy books and put it in their hands and let them read it. And every time, you kind of remind them. There's one I tell my children, I'm the mama.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
That means you had the boss. And I used to say, Ernest say, Mama, you the boss? I said, yeah. Well, what dad? I said, well, he's boss to me. And he kept that thing up till he went to college, and I told him to do something. He said, well, I'm gonna wait till daddy come. I said, Ernest, do something, so and so. And his daddy came, he gonna start something. Daddy, are you still the boss around here? Yeah, I'm the boss. I didn't go nowhere. I let the 2 keep it up. I said, okay, Ernest will be gone tomorrow. He just home for the weekend. Well, Daddy, see that? You the boss? Yeah, I'm the boss. I said, let Ernest push you up. You don't know where he's trying to get you. Now that one, he run his mouth. My husband followed him up. He left to go back to school. Monday morning, I got up and cooked. Sweetheart, so-and-so. I didn't say nothing. Some things you can follow, and some things just have to let go.
That's it. That's it.
Just have to let
That's
it go.
good wisdom. Yes, yes.
But
yes,
that told him a lesson.
yes.
Told her, don't you ever come back here pushing up nothing, running your mouth.
That's it. That's it.
I said, no, because I knew it would be 2 of us here.
That's it.
Because Robert was still in high school, but he didn't get in on the conversation.
That is good. That is really good, Mother. And then
You can't follow up everything.
you
get
can't.
angry. And I could have exploded, but I didn't.
See, wisdom, wisdom, wisdom. Oh my God. This parent asks, how do we guide our children spiritually in today's culture without pushing them away?
We have to, when they're small, always, we go in this church, we're going to start on Sunday school. Now, they're going to be fidgetive and acting up, but, you have to kind of pamper them, have a little something, put in the mouth or something to play with. And we just have to pray and ask God to give us the strength and the guidance that we need, to raise our families, because all families are different. But we just have to pray for ourselves and what situation and conditions we're in.
Okay. That's good. That's good. That's good. Now we're getting in a tough one now, Mother. Someone text me rather. How do we honor our parents while also setting healthy boundaries as a married couple?
You mean our parents, like, as we are grown and on our parents, or?
That we are married, how do we honor our parents while we are setting our own healthy boundaries as a married couple?
I think you should own them just like you did when, you was living in their home. You respect your mother and your father, and you require that your husband respect them, and you respect his family. And it just has to, something that has gone, then you have to teach your children, respect elder people in different places. Is that what you?
Yes, ma'am. And so then they put a question mark here. How do you and your husband address each other parents? And well, she actually called me on this and she said, if your husband does not really like your parents, or the woman doesn't care for your parents, for the boy parents, how do you handle that?
Well, we can't control who you like or who he likes. In my case, I didn't have any in-laws because they were passed on. But if you try to talk with them as a parent and they don't want to talk, I think you need to talk to them, he or she. Because if they don't like your parents, they're not going to care too much for you. It's something that they see in you that they want, or he sees in her that he wants. It might be a job. It might be, social group, fraternity, sorority that they want to mix and mingle with, or, you might have a car, nice car. You might have your own apartment, your own place. And he sees that and like it. And he doesn't want to be involved, or she, with your people. He just want to say, you want to cover him or cover her, to think the way you think. But God gave every person a mind, he or she, we ought to be able to kind of see, the red light flickering.
So speak with us from your experience when we get married and the boy or girl does not check on their parents.
Usually trying to find out that before, how they treat their parents, mother and father. See if they want to go home. To see if Mother's Day or Christmas, I got to take some time and go visit them, or, if they living apart, or, do something for them, spend some time with them. Or even if you can pick up the phone if you're with them, if you want to call them, talk with them. And if he or she on the phone said, this is mom or dad, said hello. And you got to feel, you know if something's not right if they don't like your parents. And I'm like this. If you don't like my parents, you don't like me. Because definitely I'm going to stick by them. Because I've known you long time before I met you. And your mama, brought you into the world. So why you going to turn against your parents? Unless they were so bad and so rotten, that you want to get away from them, Some parents, terrible. And those children, they go to somebody else's home. Because I met a little girl who said, I get treated so bad at home. And can I come stay with you? I said, baby, I don't have any girls. All I have boys. I said, but I asked her who was a mama and what did a mama do and work. And come to find out, she just wanted to control everything. And you have to be, there's two sides to everything. People, and she wanted to go when she wanted to go and come back and do things. But you got to check on both sides.
That's good. That's good.
And then we had I had another lady, she was coming to emergency room every Monday morning with her little girl. She just going into high school, and the girl would be crying down. Oh, about 8, 9 o'clock or 9:30, she just crying down. And Mama called this principal officer, secretary called the lady, tell her your daughter's sick. Every Monday morning. And so, and I said, told her mama, I said, sit out there. I took the little girl in the room. I said in there, and she told her mama, you have me dressed up so pretty until the kids pick at me. And mama said, I said, sit out there in the loft. I carried that girl in the room. The mom and daddy is separated. She loved the mama, and she loved the daddy. He moved to Florence. She stayed in Latta. And when he wanted to see her on the weekend, the mama wouldn't let her see him. And he'd come outside and wait on the mama, wouldn't let her out there. And that would break her heart. So I said that. She said, yeah. I said, mm-hmm. So I took the mama in another room. I said, now listen. She said, I'm going to lose. I said, you are going to lose your job if you keep up what you're doing. She said, what? Let this child see her daddy. She loves him. She loves you. He raised up, and just because y'all couldn't stay together for the last 2 or 3 months, and you separated, and he wants to spend time with her, she wants to spend time with her, let them be together. He's not going to kill her. And she said, what is that? I said, yes. I didn't see him the next Monday. And it's been 20-some years. The girl graduated from high school, went in the Air Force, got married, doing fine. She met me. She said, you know something? You told me the truth. She said, I didn't have no more trouble with her. She went on through high school, happy. And so sometimes as parents, we can stand in our children's way.
That is good, Mother. That is real, real good. And will you answer that one? Okay. You answered this too, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How we can keep peace between our spouse and our parents if tension arise.
Well, the only thing I can say, your spouse and your parents. Well, if he respects them or she respects them, let him know you're going to see your parents regardless. And he can go see his, whichever side it's on. And you just pray for him. And you be nice to his parents or her parents. And you just pray and keep going. That's all you can do for grown people.
Yes. Okay, so now this is single moms. The question is, how do I navigate co-parenting challenges with grace and wisdom? How do I navigate co-parent challenges with grace and wisdom? I guess similar to what you just said about that mother and that father. And so then one person said, ask mother, how do you deal with the dad who the child really want
In their life.
in their life, but the dad said, I don't want to be a part of the child, and it has crushed the child.
That's a bad one there. Because if the father doesn't want to be with the child, just like I said, children love both parents if they raise up around them. And then you and the father decide to go. That hurts a child. That hurts a child. So if there's a counselor in the school where you don't have to pay for it, or take that child and somebody to help you, and maybe, let him find somebody else. And it might be a counselor at school, or, that you can take this child to, and you go with the child and help explain, what the child is going through with. But we're going to need help with children.
Yes, yes,
because
yes,
we can't be with them all the time.
yes.
And the hurt and pain, sometimes they might not tell you, but they'll tell somebody else. But you want to be close enough to your children so they can come to you first and talk with you.
And then here is a question. I don't know where it came from, but it was email. How do you help a child whose stepmother has her dad wrapped around her finger and she always causing disagreement between the child and the father?
The stepmama has the daddy wrapped around her finger, and the child feels left out and hurt.
Yes,
Now that's a bad feeling. I think I mentioned that, children supposed to feel love, but when a child is in a home and they feel like they're unwanted or not appreciated, that's a depressing and a sad, feeling for the child. So I would suggest that if a neighbor or someone she could go to, or maybe a grandparent or aunt, somebody she feels close to, that she could go and talk to. And maybe they can help her with a counsel. But if there's a family member, let her kind of stay with that family member. If that family member is good, you're going to teach her love, even though love a person, you have to teach them how to love somebody that hurts you. And put her around loving families and try to keep her mind happy, and his mind, whichever one it is, the child.
that's good, Mother. And this our last question. If you have a question, you can prepare to ask Mother after this question. I don't know who sent me this one either. That said, how do you handle your children with their spouse that only want to use you when they want you to tend to their children, but when you want the children, they don't want you to have them? And they call themselves punishing you. That's what the question is.
Well, in that case too, just like I said, we have to pray about everything and ask God for wisdom. We don't you go on our own thinking because it could be wrong, but we want to pray about it. Or either sometime as parents or someone, we need to go to, if we have a good pastor, or just like I said, a good counselor in the school, um, one that you don't have to, you can't afford to pay all this money for these counselors. I understand they charge so much per hour and want to keep you coming back. But you need to have somebody that you can go to, and or this child can go to, you can direct this child to, or either that child can come to you and you can help them as a family member to, just be quiet, do what you're supposed to do. And it won't be long, you'll be study hard, do the right thing, be respectful.
That is good, you all. Somebody said they had a question.
Find the right words. How do you deal with, and this is something that I'm dealing with now, that's come back up. And now I'm not saying it's affecting my children, but especially my daughter. Okay, I was a daddy girl, I ain't gonna lie. And recently it keeps coming up. Oh, daddy did this for you, daddy did this for you. This isn't within my sibling group.
Yeah, okay.
It's 4 of us. And now it's come up like, well, you gravitate toward Dante more than you gravitate toward Mia. You push Dante this, you don't as much Mia. These are my two. And I don't see where I do that, but lately it's been coming up more. Not that Mia says anything, and Dante definitely doesn't say anything, but it's my family that's saying, well, you do this for Dante, you didn't do this for Mia. And I think, and I know in my heart, that I do both because my children are beautiful. I
Yeah.
love my kids.
Yeah.
My kids have never done anything to really disappoint me.
Yeah.
They've always been on a good track.
Yeah.
They're 5 years apart, so of course I had 5 years more with Dante before Mia came. And I don't think that made a difference, but now I'm hearing all of this, and it's really affecting me. And it's coming from within my family.
Is this your siblings or your children?
The animosity is coming from my siblings,
Your siblings, okay.
and then it's being said against to my children. That, they'll say, well, you didn't do that for Mia, but you did that for Dante. And I'm like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
And Daddy did this for you. He didn't do it for me. So I don't want to be one-sided.
Yeah.
And I know, like I said, I could go to my daddy for anything. And I know to a certain extent I was spoiled even when I got married. Okay? Something happened in my house in which I learned the hard way. I ran to my mom and daddy and told them everything, which now I know in hindsight was not a good idea.
A good idea, yeah.
Okay? I didn't keep anything from them. That's just how I was. So I'm like torn now. How do I do that? And it's always like, oh, you run to the boys. You do this for the boys. You'll pick out the boys. Because all of Dante's friends were always at my house.
Yeah.
And all of Mia friends too. My house was, I would say, like the community.
Yeah, yeah.
And I agree with you because when they were there, you learned so many things.
You do.
And you hear this, you hear that. That's why I would never tell anybody, oh, you can't have your friends over. You can't
Yeah.
have, you coming, yeah.
You come here.
Come. I don't care who you are, you come.
Yeah, because you can listen and you can learn a lot of
Learn,
things.
and yes, ma'am. You learn the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And when things
But
get
those
quiet,
children will talk when
they
feel
will. When
safe.
things get quiet, they say, here come Tippy Toe.
Yes,
I'm checking and I'm listening.
yes,
Because something going on they don't want you to know.
yes. And you would be amazed at what's
Yeah, yeah. Well, you kind of find that in just about all families. Children feel like you do more for this one and you do for that one. And it's just something, it's not true because you love them all. You was raised up with them.
even the ones I didn't birth.
Yeah. And your mama, just like me, I cooked we had boys and all the other guys were larger than my boys, but they look out for them. When time to cook, you bring them all in, the friends. Go wash your hands. Come on in, you feed them. And you treat them like, sometimes you treat them better at your house than they get treated at their house. Because one of our neighbors, he said, my mama don't ever cook. But when I cook, I cook for the neighborhood. You know, the boys, you know, and my grandmama, my mom was saying, if you was around when time to eat, you come on and you eat. And you don't say, come on and leave that person out there, that child, or anything. You don't do that. You just bring them all in. You try to show love to them. And maybe by doing that, that can kind of help bring them in, you know. And then too, like your siblings, when Christmas time or the birthday, try to remember, you know, each one. If you have a large family, you know, you have to write it down and keep up with all this stuff. And if you buy this one a bunch of socks for his birthday, make sure you give them all the same thing. Because if you don't, you're going, if it's a toboggan, make sure you give them all the same thing. everybody gets it. Or if you just have one thing divided, everybody gets a little slice of the pie of the cake, and it goes around. You don't give this one half, this one a little piece, and that one a full. You have to do it evenly with your children. Yeah. And we just have to pray for those siblings because they are, and some of them can be rough. Raised up in the same house, you ate breakfast at the same table, had the same mom and daddy, and if you make one step above them, some of them will be jealous and envious, and they'll talk about you, and they'll say hurtful things. But you just have to pray and keep doing what's right, and eventually they'll see. And then the same ones that come against you, those are the same ones you have to go over there and help with their children. Help with them, and you turn around and have to help with their children, and even some of the grandchildren. And when you do that, they may come back and say thank you, and they may not. But I tell you, strangers that you've done something for, or someone in the family, and they don't have to know you, but they know of you. But if you hear that someone needs something, and you go do it, and show them or take them a little something, as the old folks say, it's not who you do for, but God has someone to come back and do it for you. Strangers can be better to you than your own blood. Now I'm telling you, some of your blood can be your worst enemies. And especially if you're trying to live for the Lord and you halfway prospering. And they wonder why. Because you work hard. Number one, you believe in the Lord. And you ask for his strength. Just like I said, I don't care if it was a stove or refrigerator, I prayed about it. I said, Lord, help me to get this paid for. And then you have to be good to strangers, your children in the neighborhood. You don't know if they didn't have any breakfast. You don't know if they had any lunch or dinner. But when you call your children in, have something for them too. Does that kind of answer your question? Okay.
Can we put our hands together to bless the Lord for Mother this morning? How many of you enjoy this morning, that you got something to help other people, families, as well as your family, in Jesus' name? And we're getting ready to transition. And so Mother P ain't cuss y'all, but in a good way. Because all y'all boys look like y'all mama. All y'all boys look like y'all mama. She can't disown y'all. Y'all look, I don't know how God did that, but y'all boys look like y'all mama. Yeah, you look like all the way.